Hello, everyone. Welcome to a segment of Revolution News and Information, a very special segment. We have on our system with us Deb Jordan. Say hello, Deb.
Hi, everyone.
And it is 5/23/2016. It is currently 2:01 Central Time. Now, go ahead, Deb. Take it away. Hello, everyone. Welcome to
All
a
right. Well,
segment of
first of all, I want to
Revolution News
thank you
and
for
Information, a
for
very
asking me to be on here today with you and Lynx and Jeremy. I really appreciate it. I love these. I love this idea of roundtables and small platforms like this. I think they work very well for getting the message out. And it's not complicated. It's people talking, and I really like it. I love the one that I did the other night with these guys, and I'm just appreciative to be here with you today.
And we're so lucky, we're so blessed, we're so a lot of things to have you. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and join us on Revolution News and Information. Now, I'd like to go ahead and actually, you know what? You had an update that you'd like to give everybody. Let's go into that.
Okay, well, today started the motion for dismissal. It's huge. It was it was the motion was done by Mike Arnold, Ammon Bundy's attorney, the lead attorney in this case. The government has seen fit to try these guys all together, so it makes it very complicated. I mean, extremely complicated. We've had this past week developed one of the men. Um, Unfortunately pled guilty to conspiracy to get some charges dropped, but he had to do what he had to do, I guess. But a lot of us are considering that he was ill-informed by his attorney, which isn't it's not uncommon in this case. It is such a massive undertaking that a lot of people are kind of left in the dark, especially these patriots who are just sitting there day after day, and they go by the word of their attorney. They trust their attorney, and then stuff like that happens. So we did have someone plead guilty to the conspiracy charge last week, Corey LeCue. So we're waiting to see the fallout of that, if there is any. I do know that I've been advised that they cannot use that against the other defendants in this case. They're not allowed to use it against them, but we'll see what happens. And then, so today started the motion for dismissal, and they're trying to get it dismissed on the grounds of jurisdiction. And there is so much that goes to that. Does the federal government have jurisdiction to even try these guys on the charges that they're trying them on for the Out Here refuge? Does the government even have the right to claim that land? So um, they they're they're asking the judge to look at look at the Constitution, and so we know that's gonna go to the Supreme Court. We just know that it is. And then today, enemy number one, the the Center for Biological Diversity filed their own lawsuit in this case, and we knew this was coming. And the Center for Biological Diversity is it's an extreme environmentalist group, and it is my opinion that they are eco criminals. These people, they're the ones that started the whole problem at Bundy Ranch in the first place by putting the tortoise on the endangered list, and then they pressure the government with a threat to sue, and if the government doesn't respond, then they sue them, and they've made millions and millions of dollars. And the Center for Biological Diversity is it's a huge monster now. After all of these years of suing and settling, is what we call it. And so, now these guys have filed their own lawsuit, asking. Here's the crux of it. It says on Thursday, May 19th, 2016, amicus counsel William J. Snape III contacted the United States government's attorneys and defendants counsel on the motion to dismiss to confer on their position on the motion for leave to file an amicus brief. 3 email responses were received by proposed amicus counsel. So this is up there on the internet. It's on ScribD. Just look for ScribD Center for Biological Diversity, and you guys will be able to find their counter lawsuit. And they also want the government to define part of the Constitution. So this too will probably end up going to the Supreme Court. Let me tell you a little bit about the Center for Biological Diversity. Carrion Suckling ended up at the Malheur Refuge. I met this man personally. He's the guy who founded the Center for Biological Diversity, and I believe it was somewhere in the South is where they come from. But he's been called by other environmentalists, your regular environmentalists that want to make sure that corporations don't go up on lands and aren't accountable for killing off wildlife and fish. And we know that happens, right? I mean, that's not something that doesn't happen. We can't just bury our heads in the sand. I mean, everybody knows the story about Aaron Brockovich, right? And it's not just wildlife that some of these corporations threaten, but human life also. So we do know that there needs to be constraints on some of these companies. But this guy explains it. His name is his name is Ted Williams. He's an environmentalist, right? And he even says, that I'm kind of an extremist when it comes to it. I really go after these corporations who are polluters and kill off fish and destroy our rivers and our ecosystem. And we know that there are these guys out there. But he says this about Carrion Suckling. He says he directs and helped founded the Tucson, Arizona-based center, boasts that he engages in psychological warfare by causing stress to already stressed public servants. They feel like their careers are being mocked and destroyed, and they are, he told High Country News. So they become much more willing to play by our rules. And those rules include bending the truth like pretzel dough. For example, after the center posted photos on its website depicting what it claimed was Arizona rancher Jim Chilton's cow denuded grazing allotment, Chilton sued. When Chilton produced evidence that the photos showed a campsite in a parking lot, the court awarded him $600,000 in damages. Apparently, this was the first successful libel suit against an environmental group, yet the case was virtually ignored by the press. And here's what Suckling says. He said, ranching should end. Good riddance. But the only problem with ranching is it's not always done right. And even when it's done wrong, it saves land from development. Now that was not, Suckling didn't say that, but Ted Williams said that last part of it. So these guys have started their own lawsuit against the motion to dismiss. So we now know for sure that the Center for Biological Diversity is going to play heavy in this, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on the government, and no doubt that they are spearheading and pushing this whole thing in the background. We knew that there was going to be constitutional issues that were going to come up and make this case complicated. So this is just the beginning of it, and I foresee some big issues coming up. This is going to affect all of us in the long run, so we all need to be paying attention to what happens here. You're welcome. Did I get too winded? Okay, so I think one of the things that after I get that out of the way, and that's what's happening in the court today, and for the next 2 or 3 days, that's what they're going to be doing. Pete is there. All of the guys are hearing this motion to dismiss. It's a huge deal. A lot of people traveled from all over the United States of America to go to this hearing in particular, because this is the start of it. This is the start of the raising the constitutional issues. And if this judge can't come to a conclusion, it will go to the Supreme Court. Okay, I'm excited about this this I'm excited about, okay? Because this is the direction that all of this was meant to go in, as far as I'm concerned. So, and as far as Pete, he is there today. And I know that you guys wanted to talk to me and about last week when I called into the Alex Jones show, and because I had heard Jeremy, who's on with us right now, I'd heard Jeremy call in, and I've heard Jeremy call in quite a few times. And every single time he calls in, David Knight or Alex Jones goes into a total rant about Pete Santilli. It's their position that everybody at Bundy Ranch and everybody at the Malheur Refuge are innocent except for Pete. Pete's not, Pete deserves, as far as David Knight is concerned, Pete Santilli, because Pete is a boisterous, in your face broadcaster, independent broadcaster, that he somehow deserves what he's getting. And and really what it comes down to is these guys. Pete broke the Bundy Ranch story. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we picked up from Susan DeClose on Before It's News. We picked up the story. We ran with the story. We got Cliven Bundy on. We were the first ones who interviewed him, and Pete went out there to see if Cliven was telling the truth, and had opportunity to film the brutality of the BLM, and Fox News picked it up, and the rest is history. It was spontaneous. It happened. There was no conspiracy. Pete, is being accused by Infowars of putting himself in injecting himself into the story and being in the middle of it. Well, I mean, it was quite a sensational story to begin with, and Pete was quite excited. I mean, when you're staring down the barrel of snipers, right? You get a little bit excited. So, I don't think Pete had to inject himself into it. He was in the middle of the story. When Pete first got there, he was the first journalist on the ground, the first journalist to interview Cliven Bundy, the first one to capture the brutality. And Pete had an opinion. He certainly did have an opinion. And that's what it was. It was his journalistic opinion after he journaled what was happening there, that his life was in danger, and so was the lives of the Bundy family. And it resonated with the United States of America and people around the world, and they came. And, and they came. So for InfoWars to say now that Pete injected himself in the story and he became a liaison, you know, listen, Pete did what any journalist would do. He went undercover. He caught he caught Daniel P. Love saying some things he shouldn't have said. He went to a hotel to see if the BLM was there. Any journalist would do that. What the government is failing to tell everyone, and what Alex Jones is failing to tell everyone, is that there's no doubt that InfoWars went to that hotel and asked about the BLM too. And if they didn't, they're not very good journalists now, are they?
That's
So,
right. And
Yep.
not only is that, but that's they're what they're doing is selective enforcement. I mean, even if they wanted to say he injected himself into the story, we all know right after the United States invaded Afghanistan that Geraldo Rivera was on the ground for Fox News. He even made no bones about the fact that he went to Afghanistan armed. So Geraldo was there reporting, injecting himself, and armed and commentating, and he was right there in the middle of the war, if you will. So
that's
he
right.
was, yeah, so he was a reporter injecting himself. When Tim Pool and Vice News were in the middle of all of the looting and melee that was taking place in Ferguson, there was no way to differentiate who they were versus everyone else. So they were injecting themselves into that story, streaming it and telling it.
That's
And
right. And didn't the Oath Keepers go also to Ferguson and inject themselves in that story? I mean, these guys were standing on rooftops, tacked out. And I mean, if you're going to start accusing people of such things, then, I mean, we could point the finger at lots of people, including David Knight himself.
I got a few questions for you, Deb, just real quick. And it's not a grilling or anything. It's just I want to clarify a few things.
Uh-huh.
Um, did I heard a rumor, and I can't remember where it was from, but did Ammon Bundy ask Pete to be their liaison?
Where?
Over at the Mount Hill Refuge.
Hammond Bundy did ask Pete to go to the Mount Hero Refuge and film the and film what was happening there. And
Okay.
everybody knows that was on. It's not a rumor. It's all on video, and everybody knows that Pete said no.
Right. He said no. He said, I'm going to be a reporter. I'm going to report everything, not just one side. And by what I heard from InfoWars multiple times was that David Knight or even Alex Jones, I can't remember who said it, they flat out stated that uh, Ammon Bundy or Pete had decided that Pete was going to be the liaison and the voice for the people who were standing up in the refuge. And they basically lied there because Pete denied that privilege. Did he ever spend the night in the refuge at all?
He never spent the night at the refuge, and
Mainstream media did.
quite honestly, you know, we were we were relegated to stay with the media. We were told by Lavoy Fennicum, that and by several others who were in charge, and I will not say their names at this point, but that Pete was not going to get preferential treatment, and indeed he didn't. We stayed up at the top with the other media. We have multiple witnesses to that, and the only time we went down there was when after the 11 o'clock news conference when they opened the gate and let all the media go down there. We never spent not one night on that refuge, and quite honestly, I think there was only one time that we stayed after dark, and that was to film
That party. Yeah.
yeah, to
I
film
like
something
that.
on the inside where there was a cake and all of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Um,
We were
the
down in the refuge. There's no doubt about that. And along with all the other media, I sat with ABC, NBC, Fox News, the Oregon Live. One of either the Oregon Live or OPB spent the night. They had reporters spending the night there inside the refuge in the bunkhouse. So, and as did Brandon Darby from Breitbart, and we never did that. We never did it.
okay.
Pete never picked up a weapon. Yeah, you know what? Pete's a loud voice, but he's an independent broadcaster, and there's not very many people going to tell Pete what to say or what to do. And I got to tell you something. The same goes for Cliven Bundy and for Ammon Bundy. People, that's the one misnomer, that every time I hear David Knight say that they took Pete's advice. Pete never gave them any advice, and either at either site in Nevada or in Oregon. He, as a matter of, because these these men are very independent men. They know these issues. Pete didn't even know about the land issues when he went to Bundy Ranch. All Pete saw was tyranny, and that's what he reported on.
Right. The other question I was wanting to ask. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Um, the other question I was gonna ask, and this is just to clarify everything up by what I've been watching, what I've been hearing, what I've been seeing. Whenever Pete gets on his phone system, is he talking about how he's going to be free and how he's going to get the word out and everything like that on his incarceration?
Uh-huh.
Or is he talking about what's happening with the Bundys, what's happening with the Patriots in there, and what kind of motions they're starting to get going to
Right.
get this whole thing fixed up? Which side is he going for?
Yeah, actually, he is. They're all, because this case is being tried under one umbrella. You guys have to. I mean, it's hard. It's a tough case and it's complicated. they're trying them much like they did the old mobsters under the RICO Act, you know, back in the day, so that they could just get it all done at the same time because there were so many. So they're trying them under that, and they're trying them all at the same time. So um, Mike Arnold is the lead attorney. Now, you know, when they were all together in Nevada, they did much studying. And let me tell you something. What they're doing here affects all of them. The motion to dismiss, when you read it, it also includes all of the other defendants. If you read that. So yeah, Pete's on board with this, and that's why he's sitting in the courtroom today, because the decisions that are made here affects everyone, including Pete Santilli, and that's why he's saying he will be free.
So basically, so far we've got, I'm just clarifying this, we've got, sorry about the young one in the back, but that's part of being a parent.
That's right.
We've got Pete was not the self-appointed voice of Ammon or any of the Patriots there. He
No,
stuck with the rest of the media. He was being unbiased on it, which that pretty much puts a flat out states that what the Infowars and David Knight are saying is pretty much bull. And
right.
then David Knight's constantly saying, "Oh, well, Pete's trying to make it all about him, and what's really important is the land grab issue." And Pete is trying to get the information because he is a voice. He can get the
Right.
information. He's trying to get the information out for Ammon Bundy and the rest of the Patriots, not for just himself. So basically, InfoWars, by what I am seeing, this is my personal opinion, they have turned into mainstream media, and they will not tell you the full truth. They will only tell you part of the truth to get you to view it the way they want you to view it.
Exactly. And you know, there's a reason that Alex Jones sends David Knight to cover these stories, and that's because people know, like, and trust him. He is, when he steps in front of that camera, that's his audience that he's talking to. That's his take on the matter. And you said, you know, was Pete biased? Oh, well, you know, I mean, Pete has a passion for these land issues out west. Pete wasn't just reporting on what was happening up at Malheur either. He was also reporting on what was happening down in Burns, Oregon, and the tyranny that the people down there were under. You know, I think we put out that message quite clear, and just in the last week, they've got their petition signed and accepted to recall Judge Stephen Grasty in Harney County. I think
Yes,
that's a
that was.
tremendous thing to have happen,
And
and it's
Grasty
because we
is
covered that story too.
Stephen Grasty is ignoring it. He's saying, "I will not step down."
Well, yeah, he's saying that, but you know what? There's going to be hearings now, so you know, we just have to give it to these people. Stephen Grassi, I think, is going to be retiring in December. This is more of a stand. You know, this is more of I don't know what you would exactly call it. You know, the people are just making a point, and they're doing something a year ago they never would have dreamed of doing. They were too afraid to do this. So we have to give these people in Burns, Oregon, and Harney County, we have to give them a standing ovation. I'm so proud of them. I stay in contact with them, and yeah, you know what? I mean, it's putting Harney County on notice that the people are not afraid anymore. And isn't that why we went there in the first place?
Yes, and I am from Burns, Oregon area. I'm actually living in Hines, Oregon, which is right next to it.
I know
Um,
exactly.
the thing is also with like David Knight, he came out here for one day.
Yeah, I didn't even know that he was there.
He came out for one day. He did his little bit of interview with a few people, and then just to show how big of a joke it was, in his opinion, he decided to lay down in snow and make snow angels because his boss, Alex Jones, asked him to.
Yeah, was that David Knight or Joe Biggs?
It could have been Joe Biggs. I can't remember who
It was Joe
exactly.
Biggs.
One of the InfoWar people came out here and did that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Um, I, from what I'm understanding, David Knight went to Malheur too, and I didn't, and his son or something. I mean, I had no clue about any of that. Like I said, I mean, there were so there were so many reporters there that I didn't know. Now I know that we did speak with Joe Biggs. I know that he was there for like a day and a half, and then he left and went to Boise, and did very little coverage. Pete never one time interfered with Joe Biggs and his coverage. He probably had more of a he had poor probably had more of an open dialogue and a chance to interview Ammon Bundy than Pete did. Pete in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, Ammon agreed to do a 5 minute update for Pete during the day, and that was just about it. You know, most of our time was spent talking to the locals and interviewing the ranchers and people that came in as they came in up top to go down and meet with Ammon Bundy. There was very little. There was very little correspondence between Pete and Ammon during that time, and even Lavoie. We got our news just like you guys did. When it happened at the news conference at 11 a.m. And then afterwards, we walked down into the refuge. Sometimes we would sit around and wait for 2 hours for Ammon to be able to give us a 5 minute update because there was so much press there. And then toward the end of it, the last week and a half, the major news started pulling out, and they started pulling their satellite trucks out, and the only ones left up there was Oregon Live and OPB and a couple of other independent news outlets, alternative media outlets were up there. And of course, then time opened up a little bit more. We were actually getting tips from NBC, MSNBC, and from Fox News and ABC News. Pete had made friends with those people, and they were kind enough to um, give Pete a call and say, "Oh, they're getting ready to go do something. You might want to get up here," and we'd make that 30-mile track back up to the refuge. It was cold, and there really wasn't much happening. I've said this before. There was no standoff up at Malheur. There just wasn't. The
It was
people
a
were the people were coming and going as they pleased, and meeting with locals and even meeting with law enforcement down in town, walking up and shaking hands with them, eating at restaurants, shopping in their clothing stores. So um, it's a myth. This whole standoff idea is just totally a myth. There never was one.
Yeah, I felt safe enough after the first time I went up there uh, to bring my pregnant wife with me. All three times I went over there. My pregnant wife, who, I mean, come on, how is that going to be? If it was a dangerous situation, why would I put my wife in danger like that? It wasn't dangerous at all. And I'm going to yield because I know this is basically your show, Toasted said, Deb, but I wanted to clarify how biased and almost mainstream acting InfoWars has become.
Yes, and you know what? Really, Links, I want to thank you for doing these podcasts because it's important to hear from someone who lives in that area and who also was there and saw what was happening. I know hundreds of people who would come on this podcast and say exactly the same thing, and they're not getting any kind of mainstream press. You just don't see Oregon Live uh, reporting on the other side, and this guy named Les Zates. I mean, I saw him walking around up there. I didn't even know he was a reporter. I swear to God, I did not even know who he was until recently. I was like, that's Les Zates? I remember this guy. He was always lurking around on the outside of the circles. I thought he was a local rancher, and I guess he is a local guy, but he seemed quite harmless to me at the time, and I've been proven wrong on that point.
Well, I will say even our newspaper here, and I might get in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyways. The Burns Times Herald here is definitely one-sided on this issue. They go with the government side view of things. They
Yes.
are they basically demonize as best they could the campers that were camping on public property. That that was not federal land. They should have never have claimed to own that. So it was public property, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys, another good thing that's happening in Burns, Oregon, in Harney County, is a new newspaper is springing up. So watch for that. I've seen they
Oh,
sent me the first edition, and
what's the name of it?
you know what? I'll have to look. Just give me a chance here, and I'll look.
Please give me the information. Get it.
Actually, now that I've unmuted myself to the stream, y'all could hear me prior, but I'd actually like to go ahead and play the InfoWars clip that we are gathered here today to talk about as well. So, Deb, if that's all right with you.
Yep, it's fine with me.
Alrighty then. I'm going to do my best to make sure y'all can hear it, but the stream will hear it just fine. So, without further ado, I will be playing the clip. So, here it is.
Let's go to Jeremy in California. Jeremy, you had a comment about the report we did on BLM. Go ahead.
Yeah, David, I just want to say quickly, give me a few seconds, too.
Sure.
I am really appreciative of how you have covered this story. I think that you have been probably the best in educating people, tying Harry Reid into everything, tying it into Oregon, being fair with the Bundys, and I'm hugely appreciative of that and InfoWars. I would like to ask, though, for you to take it a step further, because really, I don't know what the difference between, say, you and Pete Santilli was on the ground in Nevada, just two different mic flags and two different approaches. But the truth is that you were on the front lines, David, and that there could be an indictment for you. And so my question is twofold. One, would you, and if Alex is listening right now, Alex, would you send David to go interview Pete Santilli in jail and cover him and cover an alternative media figure? Two, would you please, at a minimum, have his partner and co-host, Deb Jordan, on for an interview about the entire situation?
Well,
because
let me tell you, Jeremy, maybe, like you said, you weren't there. You weren't there at either one of these events. We were there both of the events, and I can tell you we tried very hard to try to talk to Ammon Bundy and the Oregon situation, and it was Pete Santilli who was running interference for that. So, we were able to talk to Lavoy Finicum when he came out front. My son interviewed him. We've got somebody else with the Voice of Idaho that I've talked to who's now been arrested on a weapons charge. I don't know if that's legitimate or not. I've seen all kinds of trumped-up charges in the indictment against the Bundys. I'm far more interested about the Bundys. I think that is a far more interesting case. And when we look at what happened with the Bundys, they are entrapping the Bundys using what this reporter did. And I have a real problem with that because I don't believe that he acted strictly as a reporter. I believe that he entrapped the Bundys with what he did, and that's what you see in the indictment. There's a lot of lies in that indictment. But what they're doing is they're saying he was their spokesperson, and if he made threats against officers, that was coming from Cliven Bundy. I don't think that's true.
Second clip coming up. We're just getting some text on the screen here. This is from Mike Sorori.
Deborah in Ohio. You also want to talk about the Bundy Ranch. Go ahead, Deborah.
Hi, how are you today?
Doing good.
Good, I'm glad to hear. Listen, usually I'm not a caller. I'm not someone who calls in, but I did want to get something off my mind here because it's really been bothering me. And it's about your coverage of not about your coverage. It doesn't matter whether you cover it or not. And that is the subject of Pete Santilli. I am his co-host, and I want to tell you something, Mr. Knight, and I love the work that you do. Actually, Pete has called you an American hero on our show many, many times.
Well, that's not what he was saying at the Bundy Ranch, quite frankly. I hear one thing and I see another thing. And, quite frankly, this is, you know what, this is about a lot of things that he's tried to make himself at the center of all this. And this is, I think, a key issue of the problem. And I'm just not interested in talking about him and building him up. That seems to be what he's doing. And he's gotten himself and a lot of other people in a lot of trouble by making himself the center of the issue. So that's really all I've got to say about it. And if you want to keep calling me about it, the issue here is land. It's not a reporter somewhere. Okay? It's about land. It's about an out-of-control government. And when anybody makes themselves a story, that changes the whole dynamic. And I'm not interested in talking about that. I mean, we've got other people who are in trouble. I'm far more interested in talking to the Bundys themselves. I'm far more interested in talking to Ammon and others. And basically, a lot of those lines of communication appear to have been burned by a guy who made himself the center of everything. When I first went there, he said, hey, I'm the liaison between alternative media and the government. I'm not alternative media. I don't need a liaison. I talk to people that I want to talk to when I want to talk to them. I don't need anybody's permission to do it. Nobody represents me, and he didn't represent them. And if he did, it was very foolish on their part.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to go and let the clip.
Every time I hear that, it's like, I can't even believe that came out of this man's mouth.
And I was laughing the whole time because I'm like, the questions I asked you, Deb, are right there. He just proved every single point I just said.
Yeah, he really did. And, you know, first of all, again, you know, when a broadcaster, Pete is a broadcaster, he is an independent broadcaster, he is a personality. He is speaking to his listeners, the people who tune in to listen to him. So that automatically puts him in the middle of it, in the center of it. David Knight knows that. He knows very well. He went to Bundy Ranch, and he had millions of his listeners tune in to listen to his take of it, you know. So, you know, did Pete talk to Daniel P. Love? He certainly did. He certainly did. And he's allowed to do that. Daniel P. Love conversed with Pete Santilli. Did Pete go to the hotel and ask about BLM? Well, certainly he did. He's a journalist. I would venture to say that a lot of other people did too. But you know, I've watched InfoWars. I've watched their coverage of both Malheur and in particular Bundy Ranch, of course. They did a lot of coverage on Bundy Ranch. They were on the ground at Bundy Ranch. They had an opinion at Bundy Ranch, and they put it out there. Does that mean that they put themselves in the middle of something and interjected? Certainly it does. Certainly it does. And I don't understand where David Knight's coming from with this. I really don't.
Gotta unmute myself so the stream can hear me. I've got a article here from Rebout News. It's called Grasty Recall is Validated. Are you aware of such article?
I am. I read that article and was very pleased. Was very pleased. I think that happened last week.
If you want, you're more than welcome to read it again to us.
Well, I don't have that pulled up, but you know, I am aware of it, and he does say in there that he has no intention of stepping down. But the people stepped up, and that's what's important here. Is that Harney County is finally starting to speak up and to show that you know, there is another side to this story, and that is that these people have been oppressed for years because of local government and people like Stephen Grasty, who bow to the BLM, they bow to the federal government, and they treat their people terribly. If you don't work for the government in Harney County, then you are basically a nobody. And you know, we brought this out many times during our stay there, and that was that this whole thing started because of the hands, right? It shone a spotlight on Harney County, And, Sue Hammond herself said that, the people of that town that she's lived in her whole life would see her walking down the sidewalk and literally move to the other side of the street so that they wouldn't have to walk past her or be on the same sidewalk with her. They treated her horribly. And that's what drew national attention to Harney County and the Hammond situation. Just things like that.
Wow. I wish I forgot his name. He just left our hangout. But I hate to sound stupid.
Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah. Did you cover what the... Oh, Jeremy is back. Did you cover what you wanted to finish with InfoWars? I'm afraid if I didn't catch it. I'm sorry if I'm sounding stupid about this, but go ahead.
Right. Listen, which is one of the reasons you wanted me on the show today, is what would I have said? What was I getting ready to say to David Knight? And this is what David Knight and Alex Jones doesn't want you to hear. I just did this article and just posted a challenge to InfoWars and to Alex, in particular Alex Jones. And I'm going to read this to you guys, and I'm going to say that this stands. And it actually is starting to pick up steam in the Patriot community, and people are finally starting to ask questions about Alex Jones and about Stuart Rhodes and all of these people who stood up for the Bundys during the Bundy Ranch, got a ton of publicity, made a ton of money, and none of them are coming up off of it now to support this group. So here's what I would have said, and it's in my article here. Is it okay if I read this?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Last week I made a call to David Knight after I heard him for the 4th time slam Peter Thomas Santilli for the work he did during Bundy Ranch. Sometimes you just have to say enough is enough. But in true mainstream fashion, he censored what I had to say and went on to slander Pete and the Bundy family. I challenge everyone who still listens to Alex Jones to call him out, not for what he and Knight had to say about Pete, but for all the money he made broadcasting the Bundy Ranch story over the past 2 years and conveniently failing to give one single dime in support of these people who were willing to sacrifice everything. Alex Jones is a multimillionaire courtesy of the American people, and I say it's time to pay it forward. And until his ass is sitting in jail or his ex-wife has completely bankrupted him, there is no excuse for InfoWars not helping these families out. If Pete Santilli, who faces losing everything, can see to it a brother has a decent pair of shoes to wear while he is incarcerated, surely the ultra-wealthy elitist Alex Jones can do 1,000 times better than that for these families being victimized by the very government he claims to detest. I challenge Alex Jones to set up a $1 million fund to be distributed equally to these affected families and show some respect to the people who made him a millionaire. Put your money where your mouth is, Alex, and until you do, stop talking about the Bundys like you give a shit what happens to them. If you can pull off a money bomb to raise $1 million to pay your spousal support, surely you can do it to pay back the people who made you that rich in the first place.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. I love that letter. I think that that's a great open letter. And I love that it doesn't, again, it removes the personalities. It's not about personalities. It's about the entire situation. And yeah, it calls out people's actions and what they were impassioned about. And Alex was impassioned about all these things, allegedly. I just, with the whole thing about these guys saying that that Pete injected himself into this story, what reporter doesn't inject themselves into a big story, at least something they consider themselves to be a big story?
Right.
I mean, we saw Alex Jones inject himself into the Texas gun rights rally. As soon as he showed up, he was front and center. It was all about him. He was running his bullhorn over the people that were actually running the protest. he was surrounded by cameras. Geraldo Rivera, same guy, cut from the same cloth. They wanted to make it all about them. He was the guy on the ground with a gun in Afghanistan. He had no business having a gun, but he had one anyways. Who cares? So what? He was reporting. But he wanted to inject himself into that story, make himself part of it. And again, like I said before, the same with Vice News and the same with Tim Pool on the ground in Ferguson. And so, you know, like I've said before over the last couple of days in a couple environments like this, is that everyone can, at a minimum, weaponize their phone. You can call into him, and you don't have to make it about personalities. You can just simply ask one question, and the question's very simple, and that is this. Alex Jones, why do you support the incarceration of journalists? And he'll either cut you off because he's going to know where you're going, or he's going to be so pissed off he may give you a few seconds to engage. And when he does is when you say, if he says, well, what are you talking about? Well, you're supporting Pete Santilli's incarceration. Plain and simple. Now, what does that do? Yeah, he's going to argue it away, but the people that don't know about the case, they're going to hit a search engine, and they're going to put in that name. And you just planted a seed. And there will be people asking questions. Yeah, why are you supporting this? You know, I saw somebody a little bit ago. I was looking in the chat room, and I saw somebody post, you know, Pete was wearing camo and the 3%ers patch and stuff like that, and they were trying to say something. Pardon me?
I said, yes, he was.
Yeah, he was. And the point is that, okay, we can be all hindsight with regard to that, but still it doesn't take away from the fact that even if he was, fine. So what? He was wearing clothes. Now, if he chose to wear those clothes, he chose to wear those clothes. If he was a commentator, you know, people that may be covering a gay rights rally as a journalist and telling a story from their eyes and their perspective, they may be wearing some type of rainbow insignia on their clothing, showing support for the cause and also reporting for it simultaneously. Okay? Showing support for the Constitution and for its re-upload and for people to re-engage and start using it as to empower themselves as United States citizens. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. And that was purely the symbolism that you were shown, was that, hey, you know, a non-conforming journalist, a brute force technologist, but telling people to come to Oregon with flowers. Pete never called for anyone to come there and be violent. Not once. Never. He didn't do that on the ground in Baltimore. Not once, ever. He didn't do that in Arizona. Not once, ever. You know, this was about empowering people, and that's all it's ever been. And anyone that tries to make it anything other than that, you're lying. You're lying straight out. And David Knight, you know, when you guys look at all that, when your people do the searching and the tag keys and stuff like that, and you find this clip, you know, shame on you, because there was no entrapment here. And if you think that Pete Santilli is that sophisticated and everything, well, then I guess he's got an IQ of a genius, because there wasn't anything in play like that at all. And you guys, at a minimum, should just be in solidarity for the non-incarceration, freeing of a journalist in the United States of America. It doesn't matter if you disagree with their agenda. We're either down with freedom or we're not. That's it. You're either down with freedom or you're not, even the freedom you despise. You know, the words that you may despise. If you're not down with it, you're not, I mean, you're just not. You're myopic and you're not a purist. So, anyways.
Let me explain why Pete was wearing camouflage in the first place. First of all, he is a Marine. We went to the military surplus store here right before we left, because we knew that it was going to be cold in Burns, Oregon in January, and indeed it was. It was below zero. So we looked at several different things, and quite honestly, camouflage is very popular. Pete's not the only one who wears it. Girls wear it to school even. They have their little camouflage shirts. Pete wasn't the only one in camouflage. I was too. I had on camouflage too. It was the warmest thing we had. We were there. We were going to be there for a week, and we ended up staying a month in the cold, below zero. Pete enjoys wearing camouflage. He wears it quite a bit when he goes out. And like Jeremy just said, it's not something that he's ashamed of. You know, it makes a statement that he is a veteran, and he's proud of that. He was given the 3% patch by the 3%ers. He is not a 3%er, but they gave him a complimentary patch. Someone gave him theirs, and he was very proud to wear that. So, if people can make of that what they want to make of it, that's completely up to them. They can start rumors and put him down because of the way he dresses, but I think in the overall scheme of things, it has very little to do with what happened up at Malheur and Pete's participation in trying to get the truth out about what was happening in Harney County and what was happening up there at that refuge and what was happening with the FBI. And, I think he did a good job. I really do. I think he did a fantastic job given the circumstances. I have said before that somebody asked me, would you do it again? And I said probably not. But as time goes on, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at this all unravel, and I see the approach and I see what could happen with these motions that they're making, and just the idea that that these issues are being put out in front of the American people and people are taking interest in it. I may have to retract that statement. That there's a strong possibility that all of this is going to work out in the end, and these guys are going to be proven to have done one of the most patriotic things in our lifetime.
I just wanted to state with something Jeremy reminded me of, and it's true, and I have yet to meet a veteran, because I am a veteran myself, and I know Pete is too. When Pete called for people to come with flowers, that's not because he wanted to cover his butt. It's because those of us who have been trained for warfare and have dealt with warfare, we want nothing more than peace. We want things to peacefully get fixed. We do not want to have to go to the war because we've seen what war will do to people. We don't want to see war. Truthfully, those who have been trained for war are probably the most peace-loving people you will ever meet.
Yeah,
I agree.
you're absolutely right about that. And when we were up there, and Pete was asking for people to come and bring flowers and stand up on the roadside. Listen, the government can try to dance around this as much as they want to, but when the government gets violent, people die. And Lavoy Finicum is a prime example of that. Ruby Ridge, Waco. Believe me, when you read the inner office emails from Kate Brown's office, it was brewing. The same exact protocol was being taken against the Malheur Refuge occupiers as was taken during the Waco and Ruby Ridge. When you read it, there's no doubt about it. All of a sudden, the federal government from the top, Loretta Lynch, and believe me, Barack Obama had to have been apprised of the situation too. Pressure was coming down from the very top to Kate Brown's office, from environmentalists, and from other law agencies, and not only that, some news broadcaster out of Portland. A lot of people were putting pressure on her, and she started pressuring Loretta Lynch's office, and that's why it went down like it did. And I'm telling you, if it had not been for Gavin Syme and broadcasting that last hour, those last hours at that refuge with the final four that were up there, those guys wouldn't be with us today. That's a fact. They would not be there. They would have gone on to meet their maker when the FBI went up there finally. They would have. The FBI took a very aggressive stance toward those guys, and they started doing exactly the same thing that they did to David Koresh. The loudspeakers, the continuous talking, the agitation, and they had those guys ready. And if it hadn't been for Gavin Syme Michelle Fiore, Mike Arnold, and Pastor Graham, those guys would have been killed. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Absolutely none.
We are not experiencing technical difficulties. We are just all enjoying a slight bit of silence in honor of our fallen brother Lavoie, and in honor of those who are prisoners of war that are being held, incarcerated without being charged.
Yeah, you guys know.
Being convicted.
And anytime we've ever covered anything like that, and listen, the other side has of the political spectrum, they've already figured it out. The more people that you have, the more overwhelming it is for the government to go in there and attack them, and it makes the government look really, really bad, because they don't know how to handle situations like that. They want to handle it militarily, and that's just not the way you're supposed to handle the United States of America. You're just not supposed to handle people like that, in America, and confront them with violence. Pete wanted to show a softer side to the American people in the situation up there, that not everybody up there was carrying a weapon. It was a lot more about having the voices heard of the ranchers. For us, we spent hours with ranchers with that camera going. A lot of people were able to voice a lot of pent-up frustration during our time there in Burns, Oregon. And it really started to sway. It started to sway public opinion. There was even an email sent to Kate Brown telling her she needed to do something, and she needed to do it now, because public opinion was starting to sway across the nation because of the work that Pete Santilli and other independent broadcasters were doing. They were winning the info war. They were winning it, and they couldn't have that. So the pressure started stepping up, and we felt it. We knew it when you see the FBI coming in by the hundreds, and their camp expanding from just a little portion of the airport to over half of the airport. You kind of figure they're planning to do something pretty horrifying. So yeah, the idea was to get a buffer, not to protect their message, but to literally, have the government have to face people that were unarmed. Maybe they would think twice about shooting a person or killing a person that was just standing there with a flower. I mean, is it beyond our government to do something like that? No. I mean, all you have to do is look at Kent State.
If I may, we do have the phone lines open and on hot standby if you're ready to take some calls.
I am.
Alrighty then. The first call is, well, I usually like to hide the area codes, but I'm going to just say it. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Deb Jordan, my name is Justin Floyd. I'm out of Sacramento, California. First of all, I want to say it is my great honor to be able to speak with you.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
I also want to tell you that I admire you. I think for one, I think you and Pete are the perfect match. Pete is getting your face reporting, and you keep him on an even kill. I think you guys are like peanut butter and jelly, and I hope you guys stay together for the rest of your lives. I think you guys make a perfect match. Another thing I wanted to say to everybody, I'm actually at jury duty. I'm on my. That's why I was trying to get on so quick. The judge is asking us, things about, you know, what we want to do this case and about rights and everything. And I'm actually going to, in front of everybody, if he allows me to talk, I've already tried to talk once, I'm going to bring up, even though it's Sacramento, I'm going to bring up our patriots in a court of law in Sacramento, California, on a jury case. And I don't know if they're going to put me in jail for that or kick me out, but I'm going to get my voice heard about Mr. Lavoy Finicum, who was a hero to me, Pete Santilli, all our patriots, because the actual judge started saying, you know, it's important you guys know that the person here is innocent until proven guilty. And I'm going to bring this up in a court of law today. That's going to be my way of I don't know if it's going to do anything, but they're going to hear about it until they tell me to leave the courtroom. So I want you guys to know that I'm going to do that, and I swear to you I'm going to do that. And also, on a final note, because I got to hurry, I know there's other people who want to talk to you. I want about the David Knight situation. In my personal opinion, I think that yes, I do think he's jealous that Pete got all the coverage. But what I think he's really doing is he's so afraid that he's going to get indicted that I think by him distancing himself from you and from Pete and all them, because he did the same thing Pete did, which is neither one of you guys, or Pete or him, broke the law. He used his First Amendment right as a journalist. So did David Knight. But what David Knight is trying to do by being rude and disrespectful to you, which that really frustrated me, he should have let you talk. But what he's trying to do is he's putting on a show to show the feds that, you know, hey, I'm not affiliated with these people. Right. And he's trying to put all the blame on Pete and get it off of himself. Do you agree with that, Deb?
I absolutely agree with that. I think that there is that faction. I do believe that is part of exactly what InfoWars is doing. After the fact, they're trying to distance themselves, and they're trying to show that they are journalists, and that they are, you know, that they took no part in what happened at Bundy Ranch. But let me tell you something. Alex Jones had a lot to do, and InfoWars and David Knight had a lot to do with what happened at Bundy Ranch. They made sure that millions of people saw the message, and they put it out the way that they wanted to. And a lot of people came to Bundy Ranch and responded to Bundy Ranch solely on the fact that Alex Jones was there.
Wow.
Deb Jordan, I just want to finish on this note because I'm literally walking into the courtroom right now where I've been summoned for jury duty, and I put that on everything I love. I am going to bring up our patriots. I don't know if I'm going to get that, man. For this, but I'm going to do it. Okay. But Deb Jordan, I just want you to know, ma'am, that I just want you to know that by him doing that and being rude to you, he's putting on a dog and pony show because he knows the feds are listening to that. So what he's hoping to do is he's hoping the feds are going to hear him talk bad about you, talk bad about Pete, and hoping that gets the heat off of him. And I think that is his agenda. And pretty much he sold his soul, in my opinion. And thank you very much for taking the call, Toast.
Before you hang up,
Jordan, I will pray for you.
Before you hang up, I want to tell you something. First of all, I want to commend you for accepting jury duty and for showing up and not trying to get out of it. And I have to say something to you right now that is so important, and it's important across the United States of America, and that is to educate yourself on jury nullification and find out what that. Do you know what jury nullification is?
No, ma'am, I don't.
I'll tell you what. Jury nullification is the key here, because if somebody is being accused of something, and let's say you say, yeah, they're guilty of doing that, but the law was wrong in the first place, did you know that you can nullify it? You as a juror have that power. You have more power than the judge does. Absolutely. So educate yourself on jury nullification as you're going through your jury duty. I commend you for accepting the huge responsibility of being a juror. It is above everything else our last defense against unjust laws.
I thank you, ma'am. Coming from you, that is high praise. But not just in my only, I don't know if they're going to accept me because he made it clear in the beginning. He said that, he says, I want you guys to know that this man is innocent until proven guilty, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna bring up our patriots in Oregon. I don't know how this, because obviously that's a different jurisdiction, but when I leave this courtroom, he might not allow me to be a jury member, which I'm willing to do it. But I want him to know. I know I don't have time to get into all this, but I'm going in there right now. But ma'am, I want you to know that I'm going to go in there in Sacramento, California, and jury duty and talk to this judge when he asks me my questions. And I promise everybody that's listening, I'm a man of my word. Rich Guz is out there. What's up, Rich Guz? I love you, brother. He knows I'm a man of my word. And before I leave this courtroom, if they do not let me do jury duty, they will hear about our patriots, Pete Santilli, the Bundys. I'm going to bring all them up, and I'm going to tell them if the judge believes so much that they're innocent until proven guilty, why are men being locked up where they cannot protect their case, where they cannot defend themselves? What they're doing is contradicting themselves, and I'm going to bring that to his attention with the utmost respect. But I want you guys to know that I am going to do that, and I'm going to do my part here. I don't know how it's going to go. I might get thrown out. Even if I got to go to jail, I'm going to be respectful about it.
All right, Justin, man. All right, I'm actually going to do an update with you later. I'm going to do a little segment with you later on that. But I appreciate you calling in, man. Hey,
wow.
Best of luck in your jury duty.
No kidding. Wow, that's amazing.
Deb.
Oops. Let me bring him back on. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. He's back on. All right, go ahead.
I thank you for unmuting me. Deb Jordan, I just want to finish with this. I admire you, and trust me, people that have a heart, and trust me, we know that you've gone through a lot, and I can't speak for anybody else, but I know you're doing the best you can, and you got a lot on your plate, ma'am, and you're a more stronger person than me. I don't think I could do everything you're doing, and I think right now you're Pete Santilli's rock, and he's a lucky man to have you, and I mean, it almost brings me to tears. I mean, I'm not a weak man, but I just, thank you for standing by. A lot of women, when their men get locked up, they abandon them. You're standing by your man. You're doing the best you can. You're only human. You have to take a time out. You're a human being. But you know what? I know in my heart that you're doing all you can do for your man and for all those patriots. I feel it in my heart and soul. And I want to thank you, ma'am, for being an awesome patriot, for being the rock for Pete Santilli. I think he's, like I said, a very lucky man, and I'm going to pray for you, ma'am. And I'm going to go do my little part here in this courthouse. I don't know if it'll do anything, but I'm going to be a man of my word and do that. And thank you so much, Deb Jordan, for being an awesome person and a beautiful person and a beautiful patriot, ma'am. And that's all I got to say.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. Wow.
Thank you, Justin. I can hear the passion in your voice, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. We're going to take a second because Justin is true patriot, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to bring awareness to everyone that's in that courtroom. And you know what? If he gets locked up for it, he needs to know that his constitutional right stands. The right to remain silent and the right to speak.
That's right. Wow. Amazing. Amazing people across this country. Just amazing.
Hey, may I jump in for a second?
Yeah, sure. And then we're going to take another call. Go ahead.
Cool. Okay. Well, I wanted to bring up something that has been an ongoing problem, if you will, and I think that Deb can not only comfortably speak for herself, but I think she'll be able to speak for Pete on this as well. Pete and Deb, and move with me on this because I'm not going off into something completely foreign and different. I'm using this as an example. Pete and Deb have had Dr. Judy Wood on and have talked about her and her theory and everything multiple times. Now, she has presented her case as an engineer, and it's to many controversial, but yet she bases a lot in evidence and just brings forth the story. A lot of people are offended by Dr. Judy Wood because they're offended in many ways. Offended by what she's saying because the technology sounds like it's out there. Offended because she's saying that 9/11 wasn't done in a fashion or by the people that we've been told that it was done by. Why am I saying this? Because there are people that have denied the truth on the ground in Oregon, as many of us see it. They've disagreed. They've disagreed out loud. They've said some things that are over the top. Because of that, people in the name of patriotism, their alleged patriotism, have tried to shut them down with violence. And they have offered up threats. And they have been, instead of just arguing, listening, and that's it, just keeping it as far as just rhetoric. But they have. And they've done some pretty atrocious things on both sides, mind you. I'm speaking for myself, everybody, okay? This is me. And I've been offended by it. I think that it's to some degree there's provocateuring going on both sides. And I think that if Pete Santilli was doing his show, that he was out on the air, and that he got a wind of this, even in relation to anything else, he wouldn't land on the side of, oh yeah, we gotta find whoever these people are and kick their ass. It would be coming from, hey, let's talk about it. Let the facts lie where they lie. And let's keep some class and decorum, and not let violent felony type activity muddy up the waters. That's all I wanted to point out. And I just wondered, Deb, if you had anything that, I know you don't necessarily want to get in the thick of it, but that's what I'm seeing from my perspective, and I didn't know if I'm off there.
You know what? Some of the stuff that I've heard, I've had people contact me and show me emails, comments, just insane things that people are doing out there and threatening. It's just amazing to me, I cannot believe that some of that is going on, but there it is in black and white. I'm not going to mention any names here, but I was contacted late last week by someone who had actually been turned into their local police department and had been given an email about sovereign citizens, this police department, and accusing this person of being a part of the Mahir Refuge, part of the sovereign citizen movement, and literally sicked the police department on this person. I was just in shock over that. I was like, is that what we've all come to, really? We're going to get to the point where we're calling the police on one another, and drive-by shootings, and the accusations are just flying out there,
But but people do have. But the people out there, and the people that are, well, wherever you're at in the world, but particularly in the United States of America, even though there may be a lot of people that disagree with you, you have the right to believe that the events that unfolded on the ground in Oregon many people said that it was some type of false flag operation. You have the right to believe that. And people have the right to counter that. But those that counter, don't be so offended by the counter to where you want to hurt the people that don't believe what went down. If you want to be convincing, do it with rhetoric, but do not do it with it's not a call to arms to go after somebody who doesn't believe a story. Bottom line.
Yeah, we would never condone such a thing. And I'm sure that Pete would never condone. I think what Pete would say is, look, get up from your computer and go outside, get some sunlight, and listen to the birds for a while, because obviously you are spending too much time on the internet. obviously.
I remember that Saturday show,
Yeah.
and I laughed for probably about a half an hour straight. I thought it was the most appropriate answer he'd ever given to just a caller that was just so inflammatory and over the top with him. And it was like, oh my God, cooler heads definitely prevailed. That was so cool.
Yeah, you know, I mean, seriously, if you've gotten to the point where you want to hurt somebody, and I mean, if you feel like you have to destroy someone's character, slander someone, you know, the problem isn't with that person anymore. You know, you need to take a serious look at yourself. You know, we just, you know, if it comes to the point where you're stalking someone and you know, and wow, and you're putting your own liberties at I don't know, you guys, listen. This kind of thing, I don't know. I've tried to stay away from this kind of stuff, and people want me to accuse Mark McConnell of being an FBI informant, when in fact I don't know. I really, truly don't know. I mean, I could guess, and I could have an opinion, but at the end of the day, that's all it is an opinion. It's not worth it to me to have this whole gaggle of people come after me because I say something that I can't prove. You know, as far as I'm concerned, things like that will all come out in the end. We'll find out as this case progresses. We're going to find out exactly who was doing what and where it was happening and where information was coming from. That's what I know. I've learned to be patient. I'm going to be patient, and you know, I don't want to fight and argue with anybody. I don't have the energy for it, and really, I don't think that there's any place in this for that. You know, can we all have opinions? Yes, I mean, I agree with Jeremy. We all should debate and have an opinion. Everybody should be allowed to have one. But when you start going after people and actually literally assassinating their character, calling the police on them, threatening their life, threatening to, I mean, you know what? That's when it goes too far. And you're right. It's been happening on both sides.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Toast and Deb. I wasn't trying to suck the energy out of the show or anything by bringing that up. I just figured, because Deb has a unique position of just being there since day one and being a voice for things, and Deb, you're just widely respected, and I knew you were not going to be on the record being down with, you know, any type of antagonizing of anybody, but I think it's just something that needs to be heard, because this side, people that are on this side, and I'm saying whether you want to say the Patriot Truth side or whatever, or on the side of the people that are jailed, they've been afraid to even call out their own, and I don't need to talk names. It's just that, hey, you guys, you are a distraction when you're doing that. You're distracting from truth. Your videos are the ones that are getting in the way of others. You could get in the way of this video by posting something where you're calling somebody else out. So that's all. I'm sorry. I didn't want to, like I said, didn't want to bring anything down.
You know what? It's an important topic. You can't just bury your head in the sand and say, you know, I'm not going to look at it, so therefore it doesn't affect me or it's not happening. You know, it definitely is happening, and you know, I would call for cooler heads to prevail, and there's enough information out there. It's like, you know, people have stopped gathering information, keeping up with what's happening, like the motion to dismiss today, with the Center for Biological Diversity coming out with their own counter claim. These are big deals. These are the things that are going to put this case, this trial, in the history books. This is going to change things drastically about how we look at things, because all of this will go to the Supreme Court. We're watching history in the making. So when we're attacking one another and we're going after one another, we completely let these things get by us. and then nobody knows what's happening anymore because everybody's worried about what so and so said and who was an informant and who isn't. And it, like you said, it's a distraction. We completely lose track of what we should be paying attention to.
Speaking of losing track, I'm about to lose track of the call system. We do have another caller whenever you're ready.
Okay, ready.
Alrighty then. I believe this is my new co-host calling in. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi, is that Corrine?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Kareem.
All right, Dad, go ahead and take
Hi,
the floor.
Deb. I really love what you're saying today.
Oh, thank you.
I love what you're saying, and I'm really sorry that you got disrespected at InfoWars. It just seems more like he wants to be more and more with mainstream media these days instead of doing with the work with the Patriots like he comes off as. But I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry for how you got treated. But I think what you're doing is awesome, and I hope that you come back on again, and inform us of more stuff, because I got to learn a lot of stuff about the behind the scenes that we don't get to know, from mainstream media or even, on the internet. You shared a lot of things today, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I'm really, really glad that you came on here to share, and you basically shared why it's so important that our freedom of speech, that we fight for our freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And
it really is important.
I will be praying for you. Say what?
I said it. Yes, it really is important.
I will be praying for you and Pete. And best wishes for both of you. And thank you so much for everything you're sharing. And I hope you come back because, I don't know that you'll be able to share everything today, but you've been sharing a lot of good stuff. And by the way, there's a lot of people in chat that are telling you what a great job you're doing and that they love you and they love Pete. And I know you haven't been paying attention, so I just wanted to let you know there are a lot of people in chat that are saying how much they love you and Pete.
Well, just let everybody know that I love them dearly.
No, they can hear you, and there's 30 watching right now, actually.
Yeah. Love them dearly.
Yeah.
I do. Listen, getting back
and
to...
somebody wants to know what's going to happen with your show, with Pete's show. Just wanted to ask you that for them.
Yes. Well, actually, Guerrilla Media Network, we are moving forward, and we are going to start broadcasting again, and we're going to try to bring on some other folks. It's just a matter of getting our streams and everything back up and going. I've been able to keep all of that stuff up to date and keep it all monetarily taken care of, so it's still there. And Pete, right now, we have filed for an appeal to the circuit, to the Ninth Circuit in Nevada, for his pretrial release. So we work toward that, and we just keep pushing them to let him go, and to let him get on with his life while he's waiting to go to trial. The only reason Pete is not free right now on a pretrial release is because the Nevada judge is she's very liberal. She was recommended by Harry Reid and appointed by Barack Obama himself, and it is my opinion that she is very biased and refuses to let any of these guys go, even though most of them that they have incarcerated right now never even picked up a weapon at Bundy Ranch, Pete included in that. So, the government has built their case. We pretty much know how they're going to go at this. For Pete Santilli, their case against Pete is built on things that he said and nothing that he did. And it's an amazing time in our country to watch this unfold, which is why I'm having a really hard time with InfoWars not being at all interested in Pete's case. It's amazing to me, especially since a lot of people out there on Facebook and on YouTube, say much of the same things that Pete says. So this could be any of us, and it's amazing to me that it's not getting the coverage that it needs.
They always covered We Are Change and Luke Rudowski being, whenever they were harassed by law enforcement or whatever it was, InfoWars was always there covering their selective alternative media. But, again, when it's not about them, then they, they can't find a way to.
I think they're just threatened by Pete. They know that Pete's a real deal. I have another question for you, Deb. Is there something that we the people can do to help with Pete's release? I mean, can we write letters? What can we do to help?
Yes, letters are hugely important, and so are phone calls. A lot of the Patriot community has been doing that, So, yes, write letters to Judge Navarro. There in Nevada, the judge that's overseeing this case. Write letters to the legislators there in Nevada, and give some of them encouragement. Some of them are standing. Michelle Fiore is one of them. They are standing and saying, right, this is wrong.
How do you spell her last name? Michelle P.
Yeah, Fiore. Michelle Fiore. Michelle Fiore goes visits these prisoners, these political prisoners. She goes to visit them every other week. She sees every one of them. She flew to Oregon last weekend and spent 2 hours with each one of the prisoners there to talk to them, to make sure that they were okay, to find out, what they needed. And I mean, she's been holding up her end of this deal since she first stepped foot on Bundy Ranch in 2014. She said she would not forsake these guys, and she hasn't.
And to any of the callers, caller and or listeners that need specific information on how to get a hold of these guys, I don't use Facebook, but Mike Soror does, and he uses it as quite the tool. And he has put together extensive info on how to get in touch with everyone. So if you guys have access to Facebook and you need to find out specificity with regard to all of that, he's done the work, and he shared that with us a few times. So that's a really cool resource.
I'm actually going to try to get him in here, if that's okay.
And I can tell you guys something else that helps too, and that is to write these guys, these individual guys, write them letters. And I don't have it right here in front of me, but there are extensive lists all over the internet how to reach these guys, how to write to them, how to get in touch with the U.S. Marshal Service. Let me tell you something. Patriots across this country changed the course of events when these guys were all being held in solitary confinement and being treated poorly. The uproar that happened was amazing, and it changed how they were treating these prisoners, these political prisoners. It really did change it. Phone calls and letter writing and email bombs. I mean, people just went above and beyond to show their outrage, and it changed how these guys are being treated in these prisons in Oregon and in Nevada.
And real quickly, I had lots of respect for InfoWars back in the day. But when I started seeing them fail to actually cover what they really needed to cover, that's when I said, nope, peace, I'm out, InfoWars. Hello, Pete Santilli, you're the man. And I did. You can ask Deb here. I called in.
Yes, absolutely. And this is not about infighting with InfoWars. I've shown much respect to David Knight, and so has Pete Santilli. Not so much for Alex
Yeah.
Jones. Pete likes to go after Alex. You know, it's one of those things that Pete Santilli loves to do. You know, I wouldn't change it for the world because he is his own man, and he can pick his own battles and battle those. But this was
I've got the documents.
but this was a direct slap in the face. What InfoWars is doing is a direct slap in the face to journalists everywhere. And he knows damn well that the independent broadcaster, live streamer that goes out there, risk it all every time they do it, whether you're in Ferguson, Baltimore, Cleveland, Bundy Ranch, Mount Here Refuge. He knows that you risk it all, and he knows that you're going to be saying things that's not popular with either side. You know, when we went to Baltimore, it wasn't popular with the Patriot community. We took a lot of angst over that. You know what I mean? People were not happy that Pete was there, standing with the people in Baltimore and covering it like it should have been covered. And that was the first time I had ever met Luke Podolsky, right? James from the internet. I got to meet, as a matter of fact, we went up there with Justin Knight. We met him up there. So, you know, I mean, I got to see a lot of people do a lot of brave things, including Justin Knight. I saw him do some things that put himself in harm's way. So, you know what, and say some things that could very well have gotten him arrested. And he almost did get arrested, as did we. But, you know, that's the chance that you take when you're an independent freelance journalist and you're going up there and you're just live streaming and you're covering the event from the other side of mainstream media. You know, Alex Jones knows that. And whether or not, you know, you think Pete Santilli is a loudmouth, whether you think that, he's grandiose, narcissistic, whatever you want, you can put any label that you want to on him. But the fact is that he is a personality. He is an independent broadcaster. And if this sticks, it's going to stick on everybody. It's going to stick on everybody. And people are going to have to start thinking twice about going to these kinds of events and broadcasting and having an opinion. You know, when you're in a situation like that, you can't help but be put in the center of it. You have millions of people watching you, and your opinion matters to those people. So yeah, you're in the middle of it. You are.
Hey, Deb, I'm having trouble accessing the PeteSantilliShow.com. I'm getting, this is not a secure connection. I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm trying to get to the donation link so I can post it up in chat and put it into the comment, description down below. I'm having trouble getting to it.
Okay, let me check it out here real quick.
Well, that's super cool. I'm so glad you're doing that, Toast, because I think that, you know, I don't know how many people are streaming this right now. I'm driving, so of course I can't look at any. But last I saw, I think we were getting north of 30. I'm not sure. But regardless, we can't do a huge money daisy cutter bomb, but can we all commit to $5 to $10 to PeteSantilli.com's donation page, and we can do a money grenade to Deb, because it's, you know, we heard last week Deb really brought out where a lot of the money is being distributed to and what it's going for. It's being spread out all over the place and where it's needed. You know? And so if we could, there's no doubt that if there's 30 of us or so and we were able to hit Pete and Deb with $10 before the sun goes down today, that's awesome. That makes an impact. And we can, I think we can all manage that, something along those lines.
Yeah, and as Deb said last week, like Jeremy had said, she is distributing it amongst all the patriots in there. She's not just focusing on Pete. Deb is basically being the outside den mother of these patriots. She's trying to take care of every single one of them because they are political prisoners. They are all equally important, as my wife puts it. I'm having to head out now because of have to do stuff, but I want to jump in and say thank you, Deb, for coming on. Thank you for allowing me to ask
Welcome.
you those questions, and then perfect that those clips that Toasted put in pretty much proved every single point I was trying to make.
Yes.
And it is an honor, and in the future, I hope to actually be confident enough in my show to maybe have you on my show, Deb, but I still, I'm thinking I'm really small time. I've only got 200 and 260 subscribers, so I'm not big enough to have a huge personality like you in there, Deb.
Oh, yes. Listen, you know what?
And it is
I'm quite busy, but I'll tell you something. Just keep at me, give me a call, and set it up, and just like Toast had to do, you know. I felt so badly for him because he would have to wait for hours at a time for me to respond, because life does go on, and I do have things that I need to get done. But yeah, I mean, the money that everybody sends in and the time that everybody puts into these podcasts, and it keeps. I just want to make sure that when Pete does come home, that everything is still up and running, and all he has to do is plug into it.
Yeah.
And that's my goal, and that's where the money goes. It sustains us. I'm able to travel and be there for him when he needs for me to be, and to talk to him on the phone and talk to others on the phone. Eric Parker called me just the other night and spent time with me, and these guys, I have an account set up so that they can call me. Joe O'Shaughnessy calls me. These guys, they need to talk to people on the outside. They need that connection, and I'm their connection to Pete, and I relay messages to them and let them know how he's doing, and then I let Pete know how they're doing too. So it's important all the way around.
I've got the donation finally in the description. I pasted it to chat once. I'm gonna paste it to chat again, and I'm gonna sound like I did way back when I called back in January. Y'all need to donate to Pete. This guy's awesome. I mean, seriously, we start this donation train. The diesel engine's running. Let's get it out of the station. Come on. Get this donations running.
There you go. There you go. Just, you know what? All is appreciated. If you can't afford donations, make sure you spread. Make sure you share this little podcast with other folks on your social media, and support this show, because in the long run we all need to be supporting one another and sharing information, because isn't that what it's all about? We can't afford to let this story die out and become a thing of angst and division. We need to be united here, and we all need to stay. We need to stay on top of this. Start a Google alert so that when these important motions are being filed. If you're not on Facebook, you can have a Google alert. It'll come right to you when motions have been filed. News stories. I mean, I know that a lot of it's Oregon Live, but that's because we just don't have enough independent writers out there covering this. Tim Brown from Freedom Outpost is a great source of information. He's staying on top of it, and he's keeping it in the forefront. So please patronize his website, Freedom Outpost.
Wow, this is great. I don't really like putting my own donation link in my in my shows. I'm really sketchy about that. for my own reasons. Won't go into them, but I am going to upload a video later on today how you can help this channel out. But you know what? I'm going to send at least half of what I get to Pete, and you can do whatever you need to do with it, because I think your cause is more important than mine right now. And
well, everybody's cause is more important. Look, I got to tell you something. We get, a lot of people have a lot to say about donations, people asking for donations, or getting money for their YouTube channels. I mean, how else do you think that we stay afloat? I mean, if it's important to you and if you like the message, then by all means donate. And it doesn't have to mean that you donate to Pete Santilli. You can donate to this channel, or to anybody who's got a donate button. Really think about, if you can't afford to donate today, think about, what, the next time I get a little bit of extra money, I'm going to remember this person because I really liked what they did here, and I'm going to go back and donate $10 to them. $10 sometimes will buy, you keep the lights on, or so you're able to broadcast these podcasts like this. They're so important, and this is what makes alternative media, independent broadcasting go. It's just like PBS, people like you, it's funded by people like you. And we cannot be demonizing everybody for trying to keep their head above water, and for monetizing their YouTube channels, and for asking for donations. It is so important. It's something you guys should all be proud of. When you look at a channel that you've donated to, and that channel is cranking out awesome videos, great messages, that should be something you should be proud of. You are a part of that. And I think it's just a great outlet for people to contribute, and a way for them to feel proud of something that, that's putting the message out there. So you know what? Don't let anybody tell you that donating is bad. I donate from time to time, and I think everybody should.
Yeah, and people are so soured by that word donate, because there have been plenty from corporations on down that have or whether it's a ministry that has fleeced their flock, if you will. But donating, we can look at it as subscribing, because all of us that are here, this is our media. This is where we go to now. We have all of our channels set to remind us of something that's coming up, and we go there and we stream it. Like me, I'm here. I would be streaming. I'm driving right now. So, and I'm an audio junkie. So I, found myself subscribing to Pete and Deb, and that is, and that's how we should look at it. This is our form of entertainment. And yeah, it is entertainment, because if it was boring and sleepy and whatever, so the bonus is we're being informed, but the bonus is we're also being entertained too, because we have some cool personalities and people that and everybody has, and there's always a diverse way of doing it too, and that's really cool. People are coming from different parts of the country, and so we get sometimes a regional flavor and everything. So yeah, subscribe.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, when you look at our videos, you're going to get an ad, but just think of it this way: even if you can't afford to donate, you're still donating by clicking on these videos, watching them, and watching that ad, because it really does make a difference. We get paid a little bit of money every time you guys do that, and that's your way of contributing, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm kind of new to the whole YouTube community and the whole way of doing things on YouTube, so it just absolutely baffles me every time somebody comes at me with this. You're not legitimate because you have ads on your YouTube videos, and quite honestly, I've never understood that way of thinking.
Right. So before your kid,
okay,
yeah, before your kid gets to watch like Barney videos today or play Minecraft, have them do 500 unique clicks on Pete and Deb's channel, and then they can do it.
Right? No kidding. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to support these channels, especially the fledgling channels that are just getting started. You know, just remember them, subscribe to them, like their videos, give them thumbs up. I mean, these things all make a difference. It helps these channels grow. It helped our channel grow. You know, so I know how important it is. And our channel is, believe it or not, even with Pete gone, the channel is still growing, and it is so important. Of course, it's probably a lot of federal agents clicking on our stuff, but people are still clicking, and they're still listening. So it's important to go back and look at those videos that Pete Santilli has put out over the past 4 years here on YouTube. Look at his library and go back and watch some of these other episodes and give them, you know, and if you haven't given them thumbs up, give them thumbs up and leave a good comment.
We got a feedback.
Stay relevant.
All right, it's gone. Sorry.
It's okay. Is it me feeding back?
It's gone, whatever it was.
It may have been me, but so I muted out.
All right, yeah, it was there and it was gone. Sorry, got me.
I'm working on getting the contact information posted so that I could put it on the Facebook page for people if they want to write letters and that in support of the patriots that are behind bars right now.
Thank you, Corrine.
Yes. All of that's really important. This whole, we have a long way to go. I mean, they're not even going to start jury selection until September the 7th. And, you know, I'm going to be really surprised if September 7th rolls around and they're actually doing jury selection that day, because of all the motions that are going to be filed on both sides. And now we've got the extreme eco criminals weighing in against this. So, I mean, there is no telling how long this is going to drag out. And as long as it drags out, and as long as Nevada refuses to be fair, you know, Pete is going to be sitting in jail. And so, you know, we need people to be covering this. You may think that, you know, when you do a podcast like this and you get 300 views, that it doesn't matter. But I'm telling you, it matters big time. It matters, because when this all starts going down in earnest, people are going to start, they're going to start searching this. Sooner or later, the mainstream media is going to have to cover it. It just amazes me that Fox News isn't touching this. This is a big constitutional deal. It's huge, and they're not even giving it a second of recognition. It's just amazing. So we depend on broadcasts like this to keep people informed, and people will click, and we're going to find out in the coming months, especially when the trial finally does get underway, that all of this information that's being put out today will be useful to somebody in the future.
If I may, you know, I just want to put this out there. I believe they're violating Pete's constitutional right to trial by 90 days. You know, they've had 90 days to get everything together, and so you may want to file on that when you do file with the Ninth Circuit Court, because the 90-day thing in the Constitution, it says, if we can't prove anything in 90 days, then we have to let you go and put it to rest.
You're right about that, and there is going to be a lot said about that coming up. I would not be surprised. I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is a motion to dismiss on the very fact that these guys were all denied their right to a speedy trial. And they were denied that right by the judge who ruled this case is complex. And the reason this case is complex is because the United States government made it that way. And then on top of that, they decided to try two major cases, federal cases, at the same time with the same people involved. It's never been done before. And it is, I mean, I can't even imagine the money that it's costing the United States government to do it this way. They're running this case or these cases the way they do the United States Post Office. And we all know how that is. It doesn't work. They're running it like they are Obamacare and like, you know, any other agency out there. It gets mired down in red tape. They try to do way too much. No, the right hand never sees what the left hand is doing. So the people in this case that are involved in this case are going to suffer for that. And I say that all kinds of appellate issues are going to be happening. There will definitely, if I can tell you right now, if these guys are found guilty, there will be a mass run for appeal from everyone.
Wow. One thing I did want to mention, I don't want you or Pete to be mad at me for this, but after Pete got arrested, I called in to the Pete's call-in line, and I kept it running from the time that he started his show to the time that he ended his show for 3 weeks. And a lot was said, a lot of conversation was open, and I hope you're not mad. I hope he's not mad, but I was able to meet some very, very nice patriotic people, including Mark Weigel himself. He called in, and now I was able to have him on our show a long time ago, and he talked about the child trafficking in Texas, and we recently also did a show on that. Corrine can elaborate just a little bit on that, but I hope you're not mad at me, and I hope he's not mad at me. But a dialogue was opened.
Oh, never. I wouldn't be mad at you. Of course not.
Thank you for that.
Oh yeah, we opened up a thing. We're going to probably end up having a show just about the child trafficking that's going on in our country.
Oh,
that
it's terrifying.
You know, under the guise of protecting children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandchildren were stolen by the state of Texas, and I have no intention of letting them keep them. But yeah, and Ronnie Davis, he's a real big movement in helping children that are being stolen by the government.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it has really stirred up a whole lot of things and made people aware of things that I don't think some were aware of until, you know, which all started from what Toasted did, you know. So, you know, what you guys are doing is opening up a lot of doors for a lot of different areas that we need to address on what the government is doing to us.
Yeah,
you know, if they steal our children. Huh?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They steal our children. That keeps us from fighting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what they think.
It makes us want to fight all that harder.
And I even had an email that said, if you'll just be quiet, we might let you talk to your grandchildren once a year, you know. They don't want us to talk. No.
You know, I think that was the beauty of the Pete Santillan show. And Pete's whole, he was so open to any subject. I mean, he was willing to talk about anything and to learn about anything. And we had such a diverse group of people that we would bring on. You know, we would bring on people from Occupy movement, Patriot movement, people who were liberals who were getting busted for, you know, for trying to start community gardens and trying to feed homeless people. You know, Pete was really open to that. He was open to both sides. He saw oppression everywhere, and he really did try to dissolve that line between left and right. You know, we weren't always successful at it, but we really did, and we would bring on people to talk about things like child trafficking, and we would have those discussions, and people would be like, are you kidding me? This is really happening in the United States. And I think one of the things about Pete and a lot of the other people that I see who are doing podcasts and becoming independent broadcasters like you guys are, is that you know, your eyes, we learn as we go. I mean, Pete learned so much. Like, you know, he would have someone on the show and on a particular topic and absolutely 100% not know anything about that subject until the person actually came on the air and told him their story. And what we heard Pete do was react to it on a human level, you know, which was,
Right.
it wasn't scripted at all. His reaction to some of our guests was so genuine, and I believe people picked up on that. I really do. I believe people picked up on it, and I think that's what journalism is all about. When it's an honest, true reaction to a situation that you don't know anything about, and you allow someone to come on that broadcast and school you, you know, and correct you and teach you, you know. I don't know how many times Pete ended the show with like, oh my God, I can't believe I just heard that. And he would just be dumbfounded by the situations that some of our guests have found themselves in at the hands of the United States government.
Right. You know, I had asked, and Toasted said yes. I brought a friend of mine who's helping me with fighting for my grandchildren on the show, and a lot of people, I think, got their eyes open that night. You know, Ronnie Davis is an awesome patriot who's right now calling people to come to Florida to where he's at, where he's working on swearing people in for the Constitution. I think it's a constitutional federal marshals instead of what we've got right now, and trying to teach people about their rights, and teach people, you know, he's trying to do it peacefully, but he's teaching people what they can do and how to, you know, take back our rights and stop allowing these injustices going on.
Right.
You know, so. Excuse me.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just got a bad cough.
Okay.
I live in Minnesota, so you know. We've had a lot of change of weather here. It's really hot one day and it's cold the next day, so.
Toasted, can you hear me?
Cough a lot when
Yes, sir.
That happens.
Hey, I just want to let you know, I just got a message. They'd like to have a word with you over that 3-week phone call, pal. Just kidding.
Could you? Okay. Yeah, actually, I did isolate the show that we did, the very first part of the show and the very first part of White Eagle show. You can find that. I forget what the name of it's called now, but it's one of the most recent uploads within the past 24 hours, and you can hear that story for yourself. It's just okay. Okay, what's going on? Who's playing with the thing? I think he dropped out on us there for a second. But I did isolate that, and when I was doing the isolation period last night, I was doing it live, and somebody did come into chat and say, "Did that really happen?" And I had 6 people listening. I was like, okay, it's the middle of the night. There's 6 people listening. What? So it seems like whenever I go on air, people listen. And that's just, it's just amazing. Go ahead, Deb.
No, people do listen, and that's the whole point. You know, people listen, and your audience will grow, and you know, the longer you stick with it and the harder you work at it, the more people will come to your channel, and they will listen. You know, and you'll grow, and it's important. It's important that everybody knows that, you know, you have a voice. You have an individual voice, and what you say matters.
I'm just actually beginning.
And, you know, the other thing is.
Go ahead.
Toast and I were talking yesterday that, you know, we don't all have to agree, as long as we respect each other's right to be able to say what we believe and what we think, you know. And that's the cool thing about what we're doing. We don't all agree on every subject, but we all respect each other's opinions and right to be able to say what we want to say and to be able to believe the way we want to believe, you know. And I think that's what's so cool about what all of us are doing here, you know, is we don't all believe the same, we don't all think the same, but we all respect each other's opinions and beliefs.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we were actually we did a long show about freedom of speech, and with every show, it always gets a little bit off topic or a lot off topic. It doesn't really matter. It's freedom of speech, right?
Yes.
Deb, are you familiar with some of the shows that I do on here? Do. Ha ha ha. That's funny.
That you had done. No, actually, I'm kind of new to you, I think. I'm new to a lot of this, of course. You know, when Pete and I were active in doing our thing, it took up most of our day. We didn't have a lot of opportunity to listen. How long have you been doing this?
About 2 months, and I've got 150 subscribers, and I'm
That's
surprised.
really good.
Yeah. we got a caller on the line whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Alrighty then. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Give that a second down click. Go ahead.
Hi, Deb. Hi, Toast. This is Becky from the chat room.
Hello.
Deb, I just wanted to tell you I'm right here in Springfield, Ohio.
Yes.
And I just want you to know I've been supporting you. I've been donating, and I'm here for anything I can help you do. I would love to be able to give you my contact information if you need anything.
I would love that. You know,
I just really...
Send your contact information to Bunker, Bunker, at thepetesantillishow.com, and I'll get in touch with you, because I am kind of having to, starting to put together, I want to put together a team. I want to get GuerrillaMediaNetwork.com up and going, which is the same actually as the petesantillishow.com. But I want to start adding content to our website again, and stories and opinions, and yeah, I'm going to be building a team soon.
I would love to be a part of that team, Deb, if you'll allow me.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And I'm actually going to...
It's my privilege to help you with anything. Anything you need, from research work to anything you need in your home and, you know, where you live. You're not very far away from me. I'm willing to come help. So you just let me know, and I'll send you my contact.
You're actually about 45 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Springfield, I think. It's about 45 minutes. No, probably more like an hour. Yeah, from me.
Hey, Becky, I see you on my switchboard here. Deb, I'm going to send you her information right now, actually. There you go. It's right there in your box.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Anything I can do to help, I will. That's what I'm about.
Yep,
Becky, you are awesome.
We've tried.
I just...
Go ahead, Becky. I'm sorry.
I'm continuously calling the sheriffs around our area here, even in Clark County. I'm continuing to call our legislators. I'm not letting up on this. I'm writing letter after letter, phone call after phone call. I have a meeting scheduled with our sheriff. I know it's local, but when you get one sheriff, they tend to connect to the next sheriff, and just trying to get the word out, because sadly in Midwest here, not very many people know what's going on.
Right.
No, they really don't.
But that's all I wanted to say. I'll go ahead and drop off and let you guys take another caller. But I just love you and Pete so much, and
thank you.
And all the other Patriot political prisoners, and anything we can do to help, I'm there for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll be in touch.
Deb, if you can actually encourage people to call in, we've got very we've got very few. We've only got my co-host here, Kareen here. But yeah, if you can encourage the chat room to call in, the number is on the screen.
I don't see this. I don't see the number. But yes, if you guys want to ask me any questions, now's your time, because I'm limited here. I'm gonna have to be going soon. So,
I'll go ahead and give the phone number verbally. The phone number that you're going to want to call into right now. It's basically this one-shot deal. Forever hold your peace. The phone number is 712-775-7035. Once again, that number is 712-775-7035. Access code is 228-627. The access code again is 228-627. This is a one-time deal. Call in now or forever hold your peace.
there you go. I hope that nobody's going to call and yell at me, but I'm kind of ready for that too.
If they call in and yell at you and be disrespectful, I'm going to drop them.
Oh, listen to you.
I'm ready for that. I don't play around when it comes to my call-in system. And we've.
I am gonna have to go pretty soon. My dogs need to be taken out, and of course I have some family coming.
All
But
right.
I want to thank you guys again for having me, on your podcast, on your YouTube. I guess this is a Google Hangout. I don't know exactly
Yep.
where this is being broadcast at, but I truly do appreciate it. I appreciate the time to get to converse with everyone and let everyone know how Pete is doing, and it's really important that he not be forgotten, and that everybody remembers what a great voice he is, and what a shame it would be if he's silenced forever. He's looking right now at 80 years. 80 years.
Oh,
wow.
So
we got a call in, and real quick, I want to tell you, we've actually had Judge Darby on the phone. Judge Darby out of Oregon, he called in to the National Guard and tried to get the National Guard activated into Burns to protect lives and property from these tyrannical agents. But whenever you're ready to take the next caller, I'll bring them on.
okay, I'm ready.
All right, caller, you are on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, you guys, this is Friday from GirlFridayLive.com.
Hi.
And hi, you guys. Hi, Deb.
Hi, how are you, Friday? I've been looking.
I'm good.
Good.
Every day I'm alive and not in jail. I consider a good one.
No kidding. Yes, ma'am.
So I have I wanted to share with you guys. I was doing a little bit of research on Judge Navarro in Nevada, and one of the things I came across, and I'm going to publish this out there this week so that other people can see. But I came across her the questionnaire that they give them when they are confirming them as judges. And the thing I thought was really interesting is I was looking at another judge's questionnaire. So every federal judge is given this questionnaire to kind of fill out when they're being confirmed. And one of the very last questions that they ask every one of these judges is, how did you come about knowing about the position of the judgeship, and how did you come about applying for it? And I came across both Navarro's and the different judges, and I forget her name at this point, but what I thought was really interesting was that Judge Navarro was actually called by Harry Reid.
Yes.
And Harry Reid's office said, hey, would you be interested in being a judge? And she said, well, of course. And so then they did their back and forth and that sort of thing.
Now, there was another judge that was also recommended by Harry Reid, and she, in this case, the judge had reached out to Harry Reid's office and said, hey, I'd like to be a judge. Can you guys help me out? So what I thought was very interesting about this was that, you know, we see in the news that Judge Navarro was recommended by Harry Reid, and you can see the footage of him saying wonderful things about her. But what I thought was very interesting was that he reached out to her to find out if she would be interested in being a judge.
Yeah.
So there's some history there, and I'm going to dig a little bit further, but I'm going to publish this week so that people can see the difference in how those two judgeships came into being.
That's a huge problem that we're having in Nevada, and actually Navarro has been asked to recuse herself. At Cliven Bundy's last hearing, his attorney was very adamant about her not being fit to see over this trial because of her affiliation with Harry Reid. Harry Reid is going to play an important role in this hearing. And if the judge will not allow that evidence to come forward, it's going to hinder Mr. Bundy's defense and Pete Santilli's defense, because we know that Harry Reid played a huge role in what happened at Bundy Ranch. And if that's not allowed to come forward, and it will be at her discretion, then it's going to raise all kinds of problems for the defense. And she's very liberal. I can tell you, I've sat in her courtroom, and I have watched her very closely. And she, in Pete's case, she came out and sat on the bench, and she listened to Pete's attorney, who made tremendous points to the Constitution and the weakness of the government's case against him, and the fact that Pete had never picked up a weapon, and that he was filming on that road when the BLM attacked the Bundy family that day. And Pete was telling the people to comply with the orders because he didn't want to see anybody get hurt. And she pretended to listen. And then she let the prosecution, the government, go on for hours and hours. I mean, well, it wasn't hours and hours. It felt like hours and hours. But she let him drone on and on. And when he would stumble, she would lead him by saying things like, you know, didn't Pete Santilli pull in front of a BLM truck to give Ammon Bundy time to get there? She doesn't know that. And believe me, it's far from the truth. But she led the prosecution. She was leading the prosecution during Pete Santilli's pretrial release hearing. It was devastating. And then she picks up a piece of paper that's in front of her, and she reads her decision from a piece of paper that she had already pre-planned to give as her excuse for not letting him have a pretrial release. When you see something like that happen, you know that a judge is not fit to be seeing over a trial like that. She already had a preconceived notion that Pete Santilli is guilty. And if a jury gets to see this judge act that way, and believe me, a jury will pick up that she believes that he's guilty. And justice is supposed to be blind. And I just personally, I don't think that she should be seeing over this because of her allegiance to Harry Reid and to her liberal party and to the environmentalists and her liberal way of thinking. I don't believe that she's fit for, I don't think she's fit to proceed over this trial either. And I think that Cliven Bundy's attorney was absolutely right in asking her to recuse herself. And we're still waiting for that answer.
Well, she should recuse herself because of one thing alone. I mean, in the code of conduct for judges, they're supposed to stay away from any semblance of conflict of interest.
Exactly.
It's not even that they don't even, a conflict of interest doesn't even have to be proven. Even the appearance of a conflict of interest is too much for a judge to have, and they must recuse themselves. It's right there in their code of conduct.
Absolutely.
And the way that alone the way that she came about into her judgeship is right there is a appearance of a conflict of interest, especially when Harry Reid goes on the Senate floor and calls the Bundys domestic terrorists, and Bundy believers use that term. Bundy believers are domestic terrorists as well. So this judge has, at the very least, an appearance of a conflict of interest, and she must recuse herself.
Yes, and we truly believe that she's going to fight that. She did tell Mr. Bundy's attorney that if she were to this wasn't the first time that she had been asked to recuse herself from a case, and that she had done so in the past. Had recused herself, so which tells me that she is perfectly capable of being biased in a situation. That tells me that she's had that problem in the past. So, if you could be in this courtroom, and I strongly suggest anybody that's within a 3-hour driving distance of Clark County, Nevada, if you're able to make it to these hearings and be a courtroom observer, please do so. Absolutely. Because you will see what everybody else sees that the media is not reporting. And that these judges, both in Oregon and in Nevada, are all liberal judges. And they have already decided, without a shadow of a doubt, that these men are guilty. Mike Arnold said, who was Ammon Bundy's attorney, said about Pete, here we have the same guy, Pete Santilli. He's the same man in Oregon as he is in Nevada. And yet in Nevada, they are finding him too violent to be released for a pretrial hearing so he can defend himself. In Oregon, they have decided that Pete is able to go, but in Nevada, no. So that is what's so detrimental about having these cases tried at exactly the same time. The power of the government is so overwhelming. These guys don't even have a chance. They don't. Pete is the same person in Oregon as he is in Nevada, and yet they're holding him in Nevada. And it makes absolutely no sense other than the judge in this case is biased.
Well, absolutely she is. I mean, it's the same thing that we have up here with Judge Robert Jones. He is incredibly biased. And we saw that with David Fry's release hearing. I have to tell you, Deb, that I had no idea. I'm an educated woman. I have a, I'm not 20 anymore. I have some years under my belt. And I am shocked by what I'm seeing. Shocked, frightened, and really, really dismayed. And I'm ashamed that I didn't know about this before. But I'm glad that I know about this now. And had this never happened, there would be a lot of us, I think, that would have no clue as to how bad it's gotten. I was shocked sitting in David Fry's hearing and listening to Judge Jones say what he did about David being one of the weird things about him is now he's a Jew. Like I couldn't believe. Where is the ACLU on this? Where are the people who holler about this sort of thing all the time? They've disappeared.
Yes. Yeah, and what's interesting about Jones is that Jones has let, thank goodness, and we're happy that John Ritzheimer was released. He released John Ritzheimer and
yes.
several other people, and why he refuses to release David Fry is just beyond me.
And he's still in solitary.
Yes. Yes, he is.
So, on a happier note, can I ask you this? I was going through and had a bit of nostalgia yesterday, actually, and I was watching one of the old shows. What has happened with Tahiti Joe? I love those commercials you guys did. They were so cute.
The same thing that happens with all of our sponsors. People become, there are those people who will buy products, and then there are, most people don't. So people just stop buying the products, and he just wasn't able to keep running his ads on our network. So yeah, that's what happened.
It was a shame because you guys did the sweetest ads. They were very sweet, and I'm glad that they're still out there, for us to hear.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can still get Tahiti Joe's hot sauce by following those ads and ordering from him. The hot sauce actually is really pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. So,
I'm gonna have to try it.
Well, it was sweet, and it was sweet to be able to go back into history and hear that, and we pray for him every night, and I'm doing everything that I can, that I know how to do. So, thanks for fielding my questions, and know that we're thinking about you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Friday. Keep up the good work. I've been looking at some of your stuff. It's really good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you for your call. Well, I think we're going to end the show. Deb, I want to extend an open door policy to you. Anytime you need to come on this show for any reason. You got my phone number now. Give me a holler. And I got your phone number. I hope I can call you anytime. But if you don't want that, tell me now. I won't call you.
No, please call me. But just don't be upset if I don't answer you right away.
I'm not offended. I'm hard to offend.
I make all my phone calls during my down and quiet time, and the best way to get in touch with me actually is through text, and Jeremy can vouch for that, right? So a lot of times I'll be able to answer my text is where I wouldn't be able to have a phone conversation with you, but I am able to answer my texts. So text is the best way.
I'm glad I got free text messaging on that line. So, but it's been a very, very awesome honor, if not an extremely amount of pleasure to have you on this show. And thank you for coming from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome. Thanks all you guys for being thanks for the hospitality and giving me a chance to speak and get Pete's message out there. We just cannot let this go. We have to be persistent, and we have to keep pushing the message forward. Please don't give up on Pete. We're going to the Ninth Circuit next in Nevada, and if we have to, we'll take it to the Supreme Court to get him released, because this is unconstitutional. It's certainly an organized attack on freedom, not only Pete Santilli's liberty, but the liberty of all these men who are not afforded the right of a pretrial release. And we just keep fighting.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Give me a second, because I'm going to tell you and I'm going to tell everybody the same thing at once. We've got, I cover We the People in Colorado on Wednesday night, starting at 8 Central. We have Ed Johnston coming on tonight to call the disclaimers. He talks about lawful and goes into how to file on stuff. He actually got John Boehner to resign because he filed on him, and another person, I forget who at this time. But we also turn around, we also have the Black Flies Brigade on Friday. Basically it's the same people from Wednesday, but definitely watch that. And then Tuesday and Thursday we got random shows, just random stuff, but good shows on that one too. But thank you again, Deb, for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk again soon, okay?
All right. Thank you again. And this has been Revolution News and Information. Today is 5/23/16. The time is 4 Wait, is it 4? 4:25. Wait, no. Yeah, it's 4:25 Central. And we'll be back tonight at 7 Central with the disclaimers. Ed Johnston. Thank you again. This has been Revolution News and Information. I am signing off for the time being. Thank you again. Have a good one, everyone. Stand by for off air.